Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, President Rodrigo Duterte approves pilot testing of limited face-to-face classes in areas with low coronavirus cases next year. Some senators support the move, saying blended learning is not working in some areas in the country. And later we get to know the Education Department's plan in conducting limited face-to-face learning and making sure teachers and students are safe amid the pandemic. Education Secretary Leonor Briones and Teachers Dignity Coalition National President Benjo Basas join us live. Meantime, government is holding a dry run for face-to-face classes next month. The dry run is scheduled on January 11th to the 23rd. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the Education Department has until December 28 to identify schools participating in the dry run. Education officials are now evaluating the readiness of schools nominated to carry out the test run of face-to-face classes. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Education Secretary Leonor Briones. Secretary Briones, welcome to the source and maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Good morning, Pinky. Good morning to all the viewers of your program. It's good to hear your voice again. Yes.
It's good to have you again, Secretary. Please tell us what actually really convinced the President to finally allow this limited pilot face-to-face classes in low-risk areas.
If you will recall, and if our viewers will recall, when we announced blended learning, all of us know that blended learning includes face-to-face, whether limited or whether it is full, face-to-face mode of delivery. However, the President at the time, he mentioned this during SONA, that he will not allow face-to-face learning as part of the blended learning package which we proposed to him. And he said that he will not consider face-to-face learning until a vaccine is available. Now that the possibility of a vaccine is possible, so we thought, we believed, and during the last cabinet meeting in October, because before this one we had one in October, I said I will report to him on the status of enrollment and look into that possibility. But earlier on, he already said very clearly that he would not encourage face-to-face learning. He said that several times in the face of the COVID danger. And so at the time, we made an assessment and gave him several recommendations and choices. And then he made the announcement himself. You see, Pinky, this year, Congress, both houses, passed a law stating that it will be the President who will make decisions about opening of schools and important education matters. And this is why we recommended to him, and then he decided and he makes the decision himself. And we had a discussion last Monday on this, and we said that now that the vaccine is, it seems that arrangements are already made for the possibility of the vaccine. I said that the public will be expecting the President to come out with a position on whether he will allow face-to-face. And we suggested several steps, Pinky. Ang sabi namin, one, the basic principle should be shared responsibility. The matter of face-to-face and all forms of education is a matter of interest for the entire country, and many of us are involved. One, we said we should have the consent of local government because schools are located in local governments and they give substantial assistance and participation. Second, we said we can only do it for learners whose parents allow it. We have to get the written consent of parents because the reactions of parents are mixed. there are those who are really aggressively pushing for
That's true.
face-to-face for the children, and there are many of them, especially in the private schools, but there are also those who are quite hesitant. So we said we have to get a parental consent. Thirdly, of course, we have to comply with the requirements of the Department of Health as to safety, sanitation, and assessment. And we can do it only in areas classified by IATF, and I'm a member of IATF, as low risk areas. For example, Pinky
Okay.
NCR is considered as a DCQ area. We cannot be having face-to-face sessions at this time. One, the local government will not allow it. Second, IATF classification does not also allow it kasi MGCQ classification lang ang possible na i-consider. No? Also, studies have been coming out globally as well as our own studies na showing, for example, that ang UNICEF may compilation sila sa global scale that 91% of infections of children occur at home. So you cannot get away also from involving the parents and the responsibility of the parents that they may go to sanitize and clean surrounding, but go home where conditions are not favorable, then they can be carriers. Kasi another study naman by Harvard, and it's the latest one on children and COVID, show that children can be asymptomatic, but they carry heavy viral loads. Wala silang symptoms, but they may be carrying the virus. So all of this, asking children to go to school, they take transportation, usually tricycles, or they are delivered by their parents. And sabi namin, about the transportation aspect, because we know for a fact that many citizens get infected from infected transportation facilities. Ito lahat will have to be very seriously considered before we say that, okay, we can have face-to-face in a school. Bottom line is protection of learners, protection of the teachers and the staff. And bottom line, of course, is
Secretary.
health and safety. Yun ang talaga, pinaka. Yeah.
Yes. So it's clear, Secretary Briones, that yung pilot testing will just be confined to MGCQ areas because Metro Manila NCR is under GCQ. Hindi po kasama ang Metro Manila, and I believe also Batangas still under GCQ. So let's talk about MGCQ areas. How many schools right now are you looking at, schools, Secretary, to conduct these limited dry run face-to-face classes?
Last week, we asked our regional directors who consult their superintendents and the various schools to submit to us possible candidates under certain conditions. Yung condition na sinasabi namin, hindi lang yung sa aming side as Department of Education, but yung local governments, yung parents, transport, at saka there has to be evidence. We would prefer a written consent from the parents because this is a very sensitive issue. Parents want it, and then there are those who are really vociferously
who don't
saying
want
they
it.
don't want it. So sabi namin, and the president agreed, sabi namin voluntary ito. Walang sapilitan for this pilot.
Okay, that's very clear.
Yes,
Kailangan voluntary. But
1,100.
Secretary, I know that there is a deadline.
Yes. We set
Go ahead,
up
Secretary,
the
1,100.
1,114 ka mga schools ang nominated by the regional directors. But we have to make a selection to make sure na papayag ba si local government. At saka yung aming facilities din. Kasi we start with the requirement of the Department of Health. Kailangan there will be provision of social distancing. The usual thing is water is available. We are near a health station. We should have supplies for the children, lahat-lahat yan on the part of the DepEd. But on the part of the parents, we'll have to inform them and involve them as well, because they will be spending much of their time pa rin at home. Kaya nga yung sa UNICEF study, sabi 91% ng infections occur at home. Very, very low ang infections sa school. But and in other places, no, like as I said, transport mechanisms and so on. So we have to be very, very careful, even as the president is saying, payag na dahil may vaccine na. But ang sabi ko during the cabinet meeting, beyond the availability of vaccine, we consider many other factors, Pinky. Yes.
Right. Secretary, and we need to talk about that. We just need to take a very short break. We'll continue this discussion on our Facebook Live, but in the meantime, we'll be pausing for a few commercials on television. The Source will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Education Secretary Leonor Briones. Secretary, so I want to talk about this school setup. How many students are you looking at, more or less, in one classroom on this limited face-to-face?
It depends on the grade level, because ang average namin, pag halimbawa, kindergarten, grade 3, 25 kids. But we have to look at the classroom itself. Kasi we must comply with the requirement of social distancing. So that is a major consideration. So what is going to happen, as is happening in other countries, classes can be split. No, hindi na that they will be all meeting together, all 25 of them for kindergarten or all 45 of them for senior high school. Kasi 45 yung limit sa depending on the facilities of the school itself. Kasi crucial in social distancing and the wearing of masks for children. So there might be a child might go to school siguro once or twice a week on limited hours, pero the classes may not be totally complete. So split yung mga classes, make social distancing possible. So it's a lot of hard work. That's why we have to focus on piloting first. It's not
but
only
Secretary, you're looking
I try
at
to
what?
emphasize
50%? Are you looking at about 50% of the space only to be occupied? Sa isang classroom, kasi depende po yan, are you looking at 50% of the place to be occupied by students?
That is a possibility. Kasi halimbawa, you have 25, may facility for 25, but then we have to make sure of this social distancing. It can be 50% or even less, and then they can take turns to schedule yan as to when a child will go to school. So it means that a child is not going to school every day. Kasi yung sizes will have to be controlled ang klase. And that is also done in other countries.
Right.
Hindi sabay-sabay. Thank you.
And are you also looking at mandating dun sa mga bata or the students also yung face mask at face shield while studying?
Yes. That is also required by IATF, especially in urban areas. Yung tatlo na 3 out of the 4, yung face mask, yung shield, yung hand washing is also requirement. Kaya we will not be holding face-to-face in schools na where the water supply is not assured. Yung ganun. Kaya it's not when we implement this, it's not going to be very big talaga, Pinky, because hindi lang na automatic, ito, may vaccine to therefore everybody in school. I emphasize in the cabinet, it will not be like that, because education is a very sensitive matter, and everyone is participating in education, especially the parents. Wala kaming control as to what happens to the child when they're in school, at home already. or when the child is riding a tricycle, does he go home
Understandable.
or does he go off to the mall or whatever? Yun.
Actually, what's
So
also
that,
good to find out, Secretary, is are you planning to have some sort of COVID-19 testing for as something regular during classes? May it be every month or should it just be teachers or kailangan ho ba pati estudyante? Have you thought about that as
yeah,
well?
it will be on the advice of the Department of Health because right now inside a place has to be tested or kids have to be tested and so on. Kasi in other countries there are countries who do not test the children and so on. So we will be following very closely the advice of the IATF and the Department of Health kung we find it
Okay.
necessary. And also, Pinky, we will
All
still
right.
continue with the blended approach because not everyone will be participating in the face-to-face, as I said. Mixed kasi ang demand ng ating parents at saka ang ating communities and our local governments. We have different reactions to this possibility. Pero ang nakita natin during our actual experience sa pag-open ng schools is that kids look for other to deal with, to talk with, to play with. Kids look for the teachers physically and so on. But we have to do it very, very, very carefully. Hindi yung todo pasa porque there is
Secretary.
already vaccine available.
Opo. Secretary Briones,
So,
again, we need to take a very
yeah.
short break. We'll continue our discussion on Facebook Live, and we will be right back on television. Secretary Briones, welcome back to the show. Magkakaroon
Yes.
ho ba ng hazard pay? Will there be a budget for hazard pay for the
Pardon?
teachers who will be conducting these limited face-to-face classes?
We already have the program of hazard pay for teachers who are assigned to places which are hazardous. We will be discussing all of these issues regarding the teachers and the learners. This afternoon, we are meeting both the MANCOM and the EXICOM as we go along, and we'll be receiving reports from the various regions on what the situation is. Because, as I said, even regions, there are at least 3 regions who are saying they will not participate because they're still anxious over COVID, and there are those who want to participate. So, ganon ang situation.
Yeah.
Yung hazard pay, we will be discussing that because we already have this a policy already of hazard pay for teachers who are engaged in who go to hazardous places or who are engaged in hazardous tasks. Hello.
Yeah, but I guess the next question, there is a program for that and there's an allocation for that. Pero naibibigay ho ba yun doon sa mga teachers who go to high-risk areas? And then now, dagdag po
Yes.
ito for teachers who may be possibly exposed to this infection or to this virus rather.
Every precaution, as I said, will be taken to protect not only the learners but also the teachers. Now, the matter of hazard pay has to be thoroughly discussed. During the past months when
Okay.
we weren't having any teaching at all, our teachers continued to receive their mandated benefits. And also, Congress has been very protective of not only the learners but also of the teachers. So we will look into this very carefully. But what I can say is that we have this existing policy of granting hazard pay to teachers who are exposed to danger or have to go to dangerous places, and they have been receiving such benefits.
I hope.
Yes.
Yeah. Secretary
Oo.
Briones, I hope we can talk about this again because I know this is evolving. This just happened last Monday when the president actually approved this, and you have a calendar that you must follow. So maybe sometime next, before the year ends or even next year, makapag-usap po tayo ulit.
Yeah,
Education
sure.
Secretary Leonor
Oo,
Briones,
oo,
maraming
oo,
salamat
oo,
po sa inyong oras,
oo.
Secretary.
Oh, and
Thank
it's good
you.
to hear you. I want to see you virtually as well as physically. Okay. Regards to all your
Thank you,
listeners and
Secretary.
viewers.
Please take care of
Okay.
yourself. Okay. And we'll continue our discussion on face-to-face learning. We have Teachers Dignity Coalition National Chairperson Benjo Basas. He'll be joining us on our Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb.